I would say I am going to do something very similar. When Julia asked us to speak for 5 to 10 minutes, I was just conscious I might just end up babbling a lot. So I have made myself notes as well. And some of the areas that I would like to cover is a personal reflection of the program, I guess. But I also just wanted to share aspects around, I am a mom of two kids, and I'm working full time, and my schedule is very tight. So how I make time for the program. Another very critical element of the program is the project. Which I think Julia just showed initially. But I think that's quite critical. And I say it's critical because it's something that you can do for yourself, or you can bring in your personal touch to the program to, sort of work through any particular issue that you're facing or you would like to work on. So I'll go through that in a bit more detail when we come to that section. But let me just start through with my personal reflections. So when I joined the program, I did come in with a question, and very similar to Desmond, I guess I was trying to figure out how do I build my brand, or in some sense, how can I position myself as someone who has effectively transitioned into a senior role and consistently delivers impactful and high value outcomes. And during this process, I really questioned my confidence levels. Sometimes I blamed it on my introverted nature, and to some extent towards my communication skills. But it was at this time that I realized not only do I need a little bit work, and I think we all need work on these areas all the time, but I also realized that there are effective tools and strategies that one can use to to help achieve transition successfully. And that's when I guess I had the opportunity to be on this program, and that was a very helpful timing to be on the program. So earlier, Julia mentioned critical areas such as stakeholder management, negotiation skills, and effective meetings. I feel like the program is very well designed to help you develop and expand your toolkit in these areas, which are crucial for your professional growth. And I think Desmond's kind of put forward some really great examples from his experience, and I've got one soon after that I'll share. And I feel like what I took out of the program were really just some tangible tools that I use in my day to day. These tools basically just sit in my head, and it's incredible how naturally, they kick in as situations arise. So I'm incredibly grateful to Julia Martin and also my peers in the program. I feel like after having done the program, I have come along a long way in my journey, and I think the program has been pivotal to my progress so far. Um, a little bit about the program. I guess, Julia's taken us through an overview of what's covered, but I just wanted to add, I feel like all the areas that are covered, we basically use it in our day to day. So whether it's negotiation, stakeholder management, effective meetings, and I felt like every program had something valuable to take at the end of it. I think my example that I wanted to share, and I'm glad it's a little bit different to Desmond, because I'm realizing both Desmond and I kind of have had a very similar journey. So my focus in the example is on effective meetings. And I'm not quite sure, but I've had these meetings where I've delivered and I've hoped for, active engagement, but what I've received is underwhelming silence. And it's happened more often than, I would have liked to admit. And often, my manager had to step in or pick up after, where I left. And that would upset me a lot because I did see that as a sign, that I wasn't really delivering and I wasn't transitioning. So I have to say, post the sessions, I um, I definitely learned how to structure meetings to drive real outcomes. I Some of the things that we learned during the sessions was who to invite, how do you craft your content, making sure that the meetings are encouraging active input, being very clear on your objectives, maintaining effective communication with your audience. So all of these, I guess, like when like slowly when I started practicing, I could see the outcomes changing, and I feel like that's been such a helpful guidance in terms of putting yourself out there and really coming up with real outcomes at the end of it. I would like to say that the sessions were rather very powerful because we did a lot of scenario, based learning in the sessions. It was practical. It was based on our day-to-day life in the workplace. We were bringing our own examples and using those. So I thought, it wasn't really just taking a scenario from a book. We were actually dealing with real examples from the real world. Um, I would also say, in terms of guidance, I think Julia and Martin were deeply invested in these sessions and were quite, committed to our growth. I also thought that the sessions themselves were felt like a safe place. So over the time, we basically formed a really good, engaging group. I think we all felt safe discussing our issues or our problems, and credit to Julia and Martin for bringing that comfort to us. So I think that really helped people um, engage in the right way as well. Coming to making time for work. So, as I said, I'm a busy mom. So, what was my strategy? My strategy was actually using Sunday mornings. I had crafted 1 hour in the morning before my family woke up as a ritual during the time of this course. Um, and I made sure I fully utilized my bus rides into work and after work to, sort of maybe reflect on the session we had on the day, or like crafting my scenarios of what's in the upcoming session. What is it that I want to talk about? Or just reflecting like what my peers actually said. Does that make sense? How do I actually use that? So yeah, those were my ways to stay committed, and make time for the program. Um, I'm not quite sure whether this time round there would be a buddy system, but like last time, our peers, we were very open to having a buddy system, which meant that we was, connected with one other individual. And that was also a very good system we had, where not only did we learn about basically other people on the program, which is obviously very helpful, but also I would say, kind of kept you committed to what you had to get to, and brought in some discipline. The last bit that I want to talk about is really just my personal projects. So, as I said, each participant picked a personal project aligned with their development goals. And my development goal was about personal branding, which was becoming more visible and recognized for my strategic value. So my goal really was I chose to present a key piece of my work at an actual town hall at my organization. And the audience size was about 70 people, which I have to admit kind of really just gave me a minor heart attack at the time. But the outcome, I did it at the end. Um, I worked on something, I had worked on something that the company recognized, that was recognized by the president of the company, which so it was a big achievement. But it was only at that presentation, I have to admit, that I realized, or I truly felt the impact of what I had delivered. People knew what I had done, the value it brought, and how it contributed to the company's strategy. And I felt I led it and I owned the space only at that presentation. Up until then, I felt, okay, I have done something, something's happened, somebody's nominated me. But when I spoke about it myself to such a wide audience, I felt like I'd achieved something. I have to say, Julia and Martin really supported me all the way. I remember a time when Martin even offered one-on-one coaching, saying that he would be happy to hear my content and, the fact that he could give me some tips around panic public speaking. Although I have to say, I didn't really take on that opportunity because in the end, I was just given a 2-day notice to deliver. So I also really put myself out of my comfort zone. I featured on Julia's We Are Actuaries podcast. I have to say, I still can't watch myself. But I have to say, when I'm feeling low, I listen to it because it reminds me of what I'm capable of and how far I've come. I have a favorite moment of all of this. My son actually Googled me, he's just an 8-year-old boy, and he found the podcast and he said, "Mommy, you exist." So it was funny, but also powerful because yes, now I do feel like I exist, not just, as a worker, but as a professional who brings strategic value and a scene. I just had some final thoughts. I would say this program didn't just teach me skills, it helped me see myself differently. It helped me unlock what was already there, refine it, and step into a situation with greater presence and purpose. My only advice to anyone considering it would be bring yourself, be open, and get ready to get a little uncomfortable because that's where your growth is. So I'll end with that. Thanks, Jill.